The following Conscious Consumer Network recording of a live broadcast is available to purchase in high definition at ethymarket.com. Support free and independent media by becoming a CCN pledger. For €10 a month, you can have unlimited access to CCN high definition downloads at ethymarket.com. Ethymarket, the ethical marketplace for conscious consumers.
Hello and welcome to the One People Show. Excuse me. Hello, and welcome everyone to this week's roundtable. It's 10 a.m. for me here, and it's already been a very busy couple of hours since I got up. But welcome, Dee, and we'll get into that. Hey.
Hi, sweetie pie. How you doing?
I'm good.
You know, how are you doing since the last time I talked to you, which was like, I don't know, 8 hours ago, 10 hours.
Dee and I had quite the conversation last night that went for about 3.5 hours, and it was the first time we'd spoken, I think really spoken since the last show. So we covered a lot of ground, but and some of it we will be revisiting, I'm sure, in the next 2 hours. We'd like to welcome Jeff back to Internet Land.
Hello, Jeff. So happy that you have internet back.
Yeah, he's helping us out in the background there. Hello to everybody in the chat room. I know most of you showed up an hour ago.
I tried to warn everyone about that whole fucking daylight savings time shit. That, like, look, it's at 11 p.m. London, Morocco time. The rest of you are shit out of luck if you expect me to tell you what time it is.
So for now, at least while Australia is on daylight savings time and Europe is not, new show times for me will be 10 a.m. for both this one and Collective Imagination. What was that? I'm seeing unhome. Yes. Many people are unhoming right now, undomiciling.
Getting up and getting the fuck out. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, this is a lot. There's a lot of that going around. I'm still transient. People are transient.
Give me 1 second.
Oh, here she goes. So lots of sharing of information and collaborating over the last week with people continuing to send us their little pieces of information.
Sorry about that.
They've gone down, which has been awesome. Special shout out to people like Candy and Claire, and there's one other whose name is escaping me at the moment. Thank you. I haven't responded to all the emails, but I'm getting through them. And
I'm 2 weeks behind on my emails. I'm working on it.
Yeah. So, and I do apologize to anybody who's been trying to send me Facebook messages, because there's like 1,000 of them. Now, with the Skype fuckery, if we were connected on Skype and we're not anymore, please do not do not use my old Skype account. Don't send me anything on that one. Do not click on anything you get from me on that one. I'm using it's the One Network one. So send me a request on that one, please.
It's the -1-network.
Same with Mel V. Do not click on anything from Mel V. He's now using CCN Creative Director. So you can look her up that way. Dee, you're still good as far as I know.
I'm still good because I don't click on anything in Skype. No. I don't click on anything in Skype.
Oh,
Not even the multitude of YouTube videos that everyone sends me.
so okay, where do you want to start today? Because
okay, I want to start today. Oh, no, here you go. She asked me where I want to start. Now, go ahead. Okay, run with it there, Lisa. No. Because we don't want you to have a mind blank out like you and I were doing earlier today. So run with it.
Well, do we want to talk about currency? Because
we can. Yeah, we could definitely start off in that.
So, is the RV going to go through? Is it not? This has been a conversation on and off in the last couple of years. Certain people go by lots of initials have been adamant that it won't. Others, like Dee, have been adamant that it will. My feeling is that it will, for a couple of reasons. And a lot of you guys are probably familiar with the whole concept of lotto, the lotto winners.
Lottery winner syndrome. Yeah.
Lottery syndrome. And I think that's essentially what we're looking at. We're looking at the system is broke. The system has no money. We know that. We've known that for a while. We know that the governments all around the world, especially those who participated in the Iraq war, were kind of paid in dong, or paid in Iraqi dinar, or paid in something. So what's the easiest, quickest way to create something out of nothing is to do this currency conversion. Not only do the governments make billions of dollars kind of overnight out of nothing, the reval was also the catchphrases within that are debt forgiveness, but it's not really. It's creating the funds out of nothing for the governments to then pay their debts. But then what you end up with is millions of people around the world, average people, your average workers, who are going to be millionaires overnight, suffering from lottery winner syndrome, which basically means they'll all be broke in 12 months because the system will have come in and scooped it and harvested it all up. So they get it all. What is it? Is it something like 98% of lottery winners are broke in 12 months? Is it that high?
I think it's like something like 85% of them are broke in 12 months. And then of the remaining percentage, 90% of those are broke within 5 years. There are very few lottery, and it doesn't matter how much they win. That's the other thing. I mean,
a lot of them actually end worse off because
the more you win, the more extravagant you get. It's the people who actually exactly. Well, the prime example was a couple in the States who won something excessive, like $60 million. And the husband loved cars, so he went out and bought a whole bunch of expensive cars. And the wife wanted like this ultimate beautiful mansion in, I don't know, whatever the Rishi district in California is. Then they didn't realize like the house was so big that they needed to hire help to be able to just upkeep the house. And they didn't realize the taxes on the house and the insurance on the house and the cars. And within something like a year and a half, they were not only had they spent it all, but they were bankrupt as well. Like they had like literally nothing left because that's what happens. Hell, I mean, even movie stars, you look at some of the big famous named movie stars who've been done for tax fraud. And it's the same thing. You think to yourself, you go, I know how much money you make per movie. How the hell can you be broke? Well, because it's the same thing. You get the money and you just go, shoo.
So that's why I think it will go through. I think it has to go through.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've had rumors on and off. Obviously, it's gone or it's about to. It's Tuesday. But lately there have been, over the last week, 2 weeks, there have been signs that it's close. And I know we've been there before. But
private stuff, not the intel, for example, that the intel that I've had coming in is stuff that's coming from private friends, not guru intel, you know.
Mm.
Oh, you know. So yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of shit. All of it, specifically with the VND, a lot more from me. I'm hearing a hell of a lot about the VND right now. Iraqi dinar as well, but mostly the VND. And like I said, it's from sources who are friends who have had their own specific bits and pieces come in. One is a friend of my family's who is a manager of a very well-known commercial bank in Canada who buys VND, et cetera, et cetera. And she went to buy her usual monthly bit of VND that she was always putting away last week and was told, no, we are not taking any orders for VND right now. And the reason that that happens is because the currency is too volatile. And if the bank can't guarantee a steady rate within a certain fluctuation margin of about 3 or 4%, they shut down all trading on it because they can obviously lose a huge amount of money if they get caught with their pants down in between a trade. So, yeah, she was told no, and she called up her counterpart in a branch down in the States, and the counterpart in the branch down in the States says, well, if you think that's interesting, we just got rates on the back screens for the IQD, and not pending, but rates. They're placeholder rates, but they are rates, and they've never seen this before. So that's coming from personal family friend.
Okay, there are, just to make note, in the chat room, there's all kinds of issues going on with streams in various places. And also, a friend rang me this morning to say when they went to my site, to the Watch Live page, some kind of pop-up came up asking for your email address. Now, that's not coming from me. No. So I don't know what that's, and it's not coming from CCN. So do not enter your email address, or I don't know whether they're trying to data collect for who's watching the shows or whatever, but if you go to my site and you see that, if it pops up, it's not coming from me and it's not coming from CCN.
That's interesting.
That is interesting. And I was also told that my site was down several times during last week's show and the following day. So fun and games. Now, I could be making a complete leap that is like connecting dots that don't exist. I don't know. But we've talked about them trying to do a reset. And not just a financial reset, but a whole kind of consciousness reset.
Yeah. The grand cycle.
And distractions. Now, if they do a currency reset and suddenly we've got a lot of people with a lot of money, that's going to keep a lot of people very, very busy. You're also going to have people like alternative bloggers and news people just going, okay, I'm done. My job's done. I can finally have a freaking holiday and stop talking. But you've also got cannabis being legalized in one form or another, pretty much all over the world, just bit by bit, state by state, country by country. So if you've got a lot of people who are very, very happy because they got a lot of money and they're all stoned, that's a big distraction. That's a lot of people not doing what they were doing.
Yeah, that's funny.
You're a dot I'm connecting that doesn't need to be there, or what?
Yeah, I'm not going to say you're wrong. But that's one of the things that Lisa and I talked about this morning, is the fact that there is, to my mind, there's a very good reason that the whole currency reset thing has been very, very heavily pushed in the new age in alternative medias, because of the fact it is the perfect distraction, right? Even people who don't just quit, but who, you know, all of a sudden you've got money. It's like, you know what? I'm closing. I'm not going to be posting for the next 2-3 weeks because I'm taking a cruise. I'm going to Machu Picchu. I'm going to go climb the Himalayas. You know, there's all these people all on that same kind of awareness level who all of a sudden just are distracted, aren't they? Very, very distracted.
Biggie's saying that he's getting hammered. Yeah, people are having all kinds of issues, no matter where it looks like, no matter where they're watching from, in terms of their location or what site they're trying to watch it from. Just let me know if you're on Lisa M. Harrison. How's it going? Is it working all right there? Okay, you're in the UK, just no problem. Okay.
Well, here's a thought. I was just going to say, maybe another way of trying it, just something very different. The Removing the Shackles page on Facebook has the CCM live feed embedded in it. So if you go to Removing the Shackles on Facebook, if you're having a problem with the stream, that's such a completely different platform. It might be different. Might be, I don't know, might be stronger there and not be falling so much. Okay. It's just a thought. So yeah, I mean, currency, yeah, there's a lot of intel coming in. There's a lot of stuff that I'm hearing that is boots on the ground type stuff. I got word 2.5 weeks ago that the Iraqi dinar was trading 1-for-1 with the Omani rial in Oman. And it was confirmed, verified through TravelX in Oman that, yep, 1-for-1. And the Omani rial is trading at 265 US. Of course, the trick was that you had to have a receipt. You could fly to Oman and cash into rials if you wanted, but you have to have a receipt to show that you bought the Iraqi dinar, either in Iraq or Oman. Yeah, sucks. Damn. Yeah, you know, we got to do what we got to do. Yeah, there's some interesting stuff going on. And financially, kind of all the things point to that reset, so to speak. We have to wait and see. Wait and see. That's pretty much where it goes. Biggie is getting seriously hammered right now. He's struggling to keep the stream up. The recording is going fine. And I'm recording from my side as well. So we should have at least one clean recording. Sorry, guys. Oh, look at that. 2,400 error messages Biggie's had since the show started 17 minutes ago.
Betsy in the chat rooms asked, so if there is a complete reset, does everyone get money? Did I miss something?
No.
No, you'd have to have actually bought the currency.
Yeah.
And then cash it in once it revalued.
Then you get into the PPPs, the prosperity package shit, and you get into a lot of other stuff. You know what? I don't even want to touch that stuff.
Apparently what our stream is doing is looping. It's going through a time loop. It keeps going back and resetting.
You can say it's impossible, Biggie, but apparently it is possible because that's what people are seeing. Too funny. Oh, maybe we're time traveling and we just don't know it, Lisa.
Yeah.
Here we go. Shit, man. Yeah.
Timeline's emerging once again.
It is timelines are converging in a very strange way.
Okay, what was the next thing you wanted to go to?
Oh, I don't remember, seriously.
Really?
That was like 12 minutes ago. No. I want to go back to the conversation, kind of leap off from some of the conversation we were having last week. I actually went and listened to about the first 20, 30 minutes of last week's show just to remind myself what it was that we were talking about. Interesting this week, last week we were talking about physical symptoms, the stuff that people were, especially with your senses, sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch, etc. And, the whole world sliding sideways. This week almost across the board, almost everyone kind of said, yeah, it was a much calmer week this week. Things seemed, like my eyes are still fucked, my ears are still fucked. But as far as, the world sliding sideways, it wasn't so bad. But across the board, almost everyone I spoke to had major emotional issues this week. Like, either couldn't stop crying, or if they were like me, they couldn't stop screaming, because I had a serious rage out frustration week. Nobody loves me, trust me. People who were like really, really depressed, people were, and each of them, it was kind of very drastic. Like everyone I spoke to, it was like a very huge swing. So I don't know, apparently it's the emotional roller coaster this week. I don't know.
Well,
what's the chat room got to say?
Speaking for myself, the ear thing, the woo, 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 that was worse last Thursday. So that was 2 days after we did the show. Than I'd had it previously, and it was for hours. It was all afternoon.
Nick has had it so bad for the last 4 days. It's like multiple times a day, except his isn't slow. Like whoop, whoop. It's like whoop, 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 whoop. He says he feels like he's got a gerbil in his ear, back kicking his eardrum. He says, like, get the gerbil out of my ear, seriously. But yeah, Nick's had it really, really bad for the last. I've only had maybe once or twice, but Nick's had it multiple times this week, including about half an hour ago.
But yeah, I can vouch for the emotional roller coaster thingy as well.
Oh yeah. I was so angry, frustrated, pissed off, and really, really noise sensitive, like to an absolute extreme that I just had to keep kind of trying to isolate. I actually sat at my computer with my earplugs in at one point, not listening to anything at all, just to try and mute out all the rest of the noise in the house just a little bit. And it wasn't even that loud.
We also covered off the sun a bit, I think, last week.
Yeah.
And back in 2012 or 2013, a movie came out, which I was reminded of via an email from someone, called Solar Revolution.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I saw that.
Yeah, I remember. One of the reasons it stuck in my mind was because I watched it on the plane over to Morocco.
Okay, hold on, pause right now. Hold on, give me a second. Biggie is saying, okay, guys, I have to take you offline and do some emergency fixes. It will be no more than 2 minutes. Okay, guys, sorry, we're going to disappear for 2 minutes, and we'll be right back. Hi, we're back. Wasn't even 2 minutes. Did you miss us? Biggie's having a very, very hard time right now. He has never, ever had to take a show off the air and restart to get everyone back on the air, because apparently he's having a major attack on the server. So there you go, guys. Fuck off. I do not consent.
No.
Seriously. So Solar Revolution movie, yes.
Yeah, well, I was reminded of that film, and then I started to watch little bits of it again this morning, and there was a lot of confirmation in there for some of the thoughts that we've expressed and feelings that we've had. It even goes into the sun's interaction with our DNA. It goes into the rise and fall of civilizations in terms of solar activity. It goes into all sorts of things. And in the chat room, there's both ends of the spectrum. People have been feeling really good, calm, and made some beautiful soul connections this week, and others have been extremely emotional.
I'd like to be the good, calm soul connection group. Can I change groups? I just want to change groups. It should be allowed to switch teams halfway through.
Mm.
No,
Now,
the solar thing is interesting because the sun has been supposedly very calm this week. We did have a CME from a filament ripoff, and the CME came towards us. I think it impacted around 10, 11 o'clock at night, London time, Saturday night. But it's like one of those things like, oh, we have a geomagnetic storm. And you look and you go, well, that's not what your graphs say. No, there's a geomagnetic storm. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm looking at the graphs. There's no geomagnetic storm. So either the graphs are lying or the reports that support the graphs saying whether or not there is. It's just ridiculous. And CERN has been doing some weird shit this week.
Oh, hang on. Before you go to the CERN.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we've got CERN and the hurricane that never was, by the look of it.
It fucking never was. I got multiple reports of people who were watching the live feed going, right, any minute now. No, they said it's coming. Wait, there's no hurricane.
The first thing that I was reminded of was the snowstorm in New York that put the curfew, that brought out the curfew and everything, and so everybody's indoors. And we had Barbara, my collective imagination co-host, right through that whole episode of like 2 or 3 days where she was photographing and chronicling everything, and she's saying there's nothing happening. It's just
there's no snow.
There's wind blowing up the snow that's already fallen. There is no snowstorm.
No.
And it was like they just wanted everybody indoors to not see what was going on.
And that's what happened in Mexico. Puerto Vallarta. All the tourists got gathered up out of the hotels, taken to shelters that were like brick buildings where they were placed in cubicles. And yeah, well, if you want to try and pull off a mockery, right? You got to put the people away with their cell phones.
So did something go down around Mexico that they didn't want anybody to see?
Well,
but we had the storm that didn't happen here as well.
Yes.
Weather forecast warnings for the next 3 days, which was supposed to be Monday, today, and tomorrow, of severe storms right through, more so inland than what I am, but right through this area, southern Queensland, New South Wales. And yesterday afternoon, the sky just went black. There was thunder, there was lightning. It looked like it, and the rain started to trickle, and I mean literally just trickle. And then within 5 minutes, it was gone. Nothing happened. But the build-up was intense. You could feel it. You could smell the rain. The lightning and the thunder was amazing. And then blue sky. Like, what the fuck? Where did that go?
Yep. Well, I was going to say, I can see that terribly stormy sky and the reflection of the windows behind you. It's just so blue and stormy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've had freaky weather here. We've had storms and rain, which is okay. We're kind of getting towards the rainy year season. But we had that storm where I talked about on last week's show, where the lightning was so big, and it was the same thing where it was like every big flash of lightning when it was like right overhead of us, I could feel it. Like it was literally knocking me off my center of balance. So yeah, is it that the storms are being built and then squashed? Now, the one thing that was interesting that someone posted a cute little meme was the fact of, Mexico is announced that they weren't going to be using US dollars, the petrodollar anymore, and they were going to trade for gasoline or oil in their own currency. And then all of a sudden there's this big super storm or hurricane that came out of nowhere, 24 hours notice, Category 5 biggest hurricane to ever make landfall in that area. And of course nothing happened, but the pathway it was supposed to take would have been right through Mexico's oil fields, which of course by the time it got to Mexico's oil fields, it was rain. So it's like Texas, yeah, they got a lot of rain. A lot of rain, like 10 inches at one point. That's a lot of fucking rain. No hurricane, no massive storm. Now, here's the interesting thing, though, because right now, the debt ceiling clock is going on in the United States. And Jack Lew just made a big, huge announcement in the US, but we got to raise the debt ceiling. And it's such a fucking joke. But it's interesting because he said something in his big announcement last week about the debt ceiling that triggered me to remember an article I wrote the last time we went through this, which was in February 2014. And I went back and I pulled up the article. Well, the article, there's 2 articles that I wrote on the subject. And it's really, really humorous because one of the things I reference in the article is the hurricane that was supposed to be slamming into New York City at the exact same time. Well, this Hurricane Patricia was supposed to kind of come across Mexico, up into Texas, go up the eastern seaboard and slam into New York City. And I read my article back, you know, like I said, it's a little reminder. You don't remember all these things that happened, you know, a year and a half ago. And went, oh, isn't that just so cute? They're using the exact same template they did last time. Close down the business district because, you know, you can't have people see what's going on. Yeah. So, yeah, you know.
Okay, so if, okay, this login thing is popping up again when people go back to the site or refresh. Do not log in, please. It's not coming from me and it's not coming from CCN and it shouldn't be coming from Livestream. So,
and screenshot. Yes, please take a screenshot of it so we can take a look at it.
And take it up with Livestream, see what they have to say about it. And that it's happening at the same time that the stream's getting so slammed. I'm a little bit suspicious. So there you go. All right. What else?
Oh, you're such a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, call me paranoid.
So yeah, so I just want to touch on a few things. We talked about it on Monday, last Monday. Of course, you had the floating city over China. And last Monday, we opened up the show talking about the London Express, mainstream media. Yes, it's a rag, but it's still mainstream media. And one of the most well-read in England, talking about the floating city and bringing up by name Project Bluebeam, faked alien invasion or faked second coming. Then 2 days later, because, you know, like I said, it was kind of funny, CNN ran the same story 2 days later after everyone else has already covered it. But again, their opening paragraph literally talks about, you know, conspiracy theories say that this is a NASA thing, that they're going to fake the second coming of Christ. And I was like, really? On CNN? Well, then there was a second floating city seen over England, over Hastings, England. And again, the Express, the London Express, runs another story talking about, again, floating city and talking about parallel universes, parallel dimensions, brings up CERN. And of course, last Saturday, the the London Express published a big article of how CERN was going to open up a parallel dimension last week. So I found it very, very interesting that all of a sudden now it's like this, the mainstream media putting out these stories, naming the conspiracy theories. And the point you made last week, Lisa, was so perfect. The one about the floating city in China was the fact of the theories they gave you to choose from were also completely ludicrous. Like even their own, like, you know, it was a mirage with, you know, the sunlight was shining through clouds, and, you know, their own explanation by their experts was so completely ludicrous that it left you with no options. There was no other explanation other than the conspiracy theory explanation. So I had this thought after you and I finished talking today. I sat there and was thinking about something else and went, oh, is that what they're doing?
They also had it in, I sent you a link. It showed up in mainstream news Was it in Australia? News.com?
I didn't see the link, hon. I didn't see the link. And then last week, halfway through the week, article runs on the London Express again, but it was also picked up by one of the American news agencies. I can't remember who it was. It may have been Fox, I'm not sure, about the second son. And the same thing, the London story is this huge long story. They got videos in there showing the two sons, tons of pictures, and of course it's, you know, the swamp gas reflecting off the light of Venus and all this ridiculousness.
Well, it's looking an awful lot like they are trying to get everybody prepped. You've got NASA's made all sorts of announcements about it's just a matter of time before we make contact basically with alien life or prove alien life. RT
has had at least one article every week for like the last 2 months that deals with either strange things seen on Mars or other things kind of like that, about things that touch around the edges of disclosure. It's a setup. You know it's a setup. Like this. So I'm wondering, one theory that came to my head is, if something's going on and they can't control it, in the quintessential they can't control it, i.e. the floating city seen above China and England was actually an opening in the dimensions that was just randomly opening, and we can start seeing through, and they can see these bleed through points happening. If the second son is actually happening, and again, they can't do anything about it, are they playing like a reverse psychology thing right now? If they can kind of make people think, like all the conspiracy theorists, get them to think, oh, it's Project Bluebeam, they're doing it to us. It empowers them because it makes it look like, you know, they're the bad guys. Somehow some bad guy here on the planet is actually doing these things. In the meantime, it's stuff that they have no control over. So it's like I said, it's kind of like the reverse spin on it. You're muted, Lisa.
There are some people in the chat room or who listen to this show who are going to be able to help us with this, because, okay, you had that announcement that CERN lied, right? That instead of TEV, they've actually PEV, right?
Yeah, and I haven't had a chance to watch that video yet. Damn, I knew there was something I was supposed to do today. Sorry, I was supposed to watch that.
Is it Linda? No. Oh, I'm sorry. Your name has gone. Is it Linda? Linda B? No, Lisa Risingberry. Sorry, Lisa Risingberry, who wrote some articles recently. Now, she's somebody who sees and feels the energetics very well. And if you haven't read her latest article, go and have a look at it. It talks about the Azoth and ether. It's pretty interesting. But how?
Well, throw us a link, please.
Oh, I have to try and find it.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, not now, but we'll make sure we get it out with the video.
Where it happened. So there's that. And how this ether energy that we're bathed in right now turned gold from this. It used to be this black with purple through it, and now it's gold. That's what I thought of immediately when I read that that CERN had gone up to whatever this astronomical figure is of PeV, and they were using or colliding ions of lead.
Yeah.
That instantly made me think of alchemy,
which is gold.
Into gold. Now, are they trying to create a golden, monatomic gold shield? And if so, is it to keep something out, or
hold something in?
Hold something in. Is it to keep out something that's positive or something that's negative. I mean, lots of questions, but if they're mucking around with lead, I don't know. That's where my head's going, and the thought of Lisa and
Hold on. Let me
no
just.
conclusion to these questions, of course.
Of course. This is what we're good at. We ask lots of good questions. Hold on. I'm just pulling up CERN right now. Yeah, they're blasting away at high power. Hold on. Let me just pull up the dashboard. All through the weekend, they were doing a very interesting test, it looked like. Yeah, wow, they're really going at high power. 2040 bunches.
Apparently, Andrew what do we call him? Andrew Bartitz or something?
Bartitz, yeah.
Predicting floating cities. More info, please, Joe.
He's what? He's
apparently he predicted floating cities, but I want more information on that, where he said they were coming from or what they were.
Yeah. Well, we all know that.
Guys, the archive will be fine. The archive is being recorded from what's happening at our end, not what's going out on the stream. So the archives will be fine.
Yep. I have had no problems recording on this end either. So, like, I haven't even had a fluctuation. Touch wood, not even a fluctuation. Yeah, CERN was doing something last week. I know they had problems with the cryogenics several times. They look like they're back to the usual beams that they have been firing off. Just give me a second. I'll go to the operation page. Yeah, they've been holding steady since about 1700 today, which is right back to what they were doing 2 weeks ago. Like, the graph looks really, really similar to what it was 2 weeks ago, actually almost identical. One would almost wonder if perhaps they're... I'm not so completely convinced that this is as live as they like to say it is. Yeah.
Okay, I've put the link into the chat room on my site to Lisa's article on this. So that bit's done.
If someone in the chat room is in the unfuckers room, can you cross that link over and throw it into the unfuckers room? Because I will not be able to grab it from the chat room, but I can grab it from the unfuckers room. Oh, speaking of the unfuckers room, so we kind of made a promise 2 weeks ago about amalgamating a list of all those groovy movies and TV shows that everyone should sit down and, you know, have some fun watching, and we haven't done it. So the unfuckers room is doing it for us. We've all been in there. Everyone's been pulling in all their favorite TV shows, movies, and some old stuff too. Like, so there's been a few things from the 80s and the 90s that have been pulled in. A couple of foreign films have been pulled in. So what we'll do is, maybe after we let it stay up there for a couple of days, I'm going to ask if maybe someone wants to be so kind and generous that they could capture all the information and put it into like an actual document, like a list, and then we can just publish it and put it out there, because there's some interesting stuff that you forget. You go, oh yeah, that was such a good movie, but you don't remember it all the time, right? So, and on the list, I've looked at a few that I'm like, oh, I have that on my hard drive. Oh, I'm gonna watch that next. So.
This is that room has been amazing. It's some of the best conversations are going on in there that I've ever seen on Facebook. So if you're not in there, you should be.
Yep. If you're not in there and you want to be, don't send Lisa a message, because apparently she doesn't answer her Facebook messages. But you can send me a message at Danny Arnold McKenney on Facebook. And just like send a friend request and then send me a message saying, please add me to the unfuckers room, because otherwise I forget. And sometimes, like today, Facebook was really being an asshole and wouldn't let me add anyone to the room for about 6 hours today. Okay, so I want to go back to the whole cycles conversation.
The people are finding it really hard to follow a conversation because of the glitches.
Sorry, guys.
So A call has been put out that when the archive of this is available, for it to be shared everywhere.
Yes.
So, interesting. Interesting.
Hold on. Let's Biggie's. You know why the glitches there? Oh, they're trying to find Biggie.
They're trying to find him.
Oh, sorry, Biggie. You should have typed in this next line before you hit enter. Sorry. Whoops. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's not going to work. Bye.
Yeah. No, too bad for you guys. Yeah, and you know, it's not like Lisa and I's conversations aren't completely disjointed anyways. So really, you guys out there, you should be used to this. I don't know why you can't keep up.
The other thing that caught my attention recently was this supposed filing in the Italian court or regards to OPPT.
Oh, not that one.
Yes. I've been sent the link by about 10 people.
And they were all really, really bad translations, and I couldn't make out what the hell they were saying. And then I got one that was decent. And even then, I'm really not sure where that's going.
There's huge holes in it. As in what was actually done, what the filing was used for. I went through it. I actually asked a friend who speaks Italian and said, could you, like, seriously, is this a bad translation? And she kind of cross-referenced and said, okay, well, this word should actually be this. But no, that's what it is. So there's a massive amount of information missing. We don't know what it means. Although in my workroom, the one thing that was brought up is the woman who did the filing. Her name is Patrizia Peace. And I sat there and went, patience, peace. And that stuff went out 2 days before you and I talked about the whole thing about peace. And I did the article with all the thing about the definitions of what peace actually means. And it just kind of was like, and she's in Italy, of all places. And I was just
so she's in Italy where Heather is. There's a hurricane that isn't called Patricia. And we did a
whole synopsis.
The idea of peace and the word etymology of peace.
All within days of each other. I don't know. Maybe I'm beginning to suspect that perhaps I'm in a coma somewhere, and this is like just a drug-induced dream that I'm living in. Because I have really no other explanation sometimes. It just gets so weird.
Now, you've still got this link up, okay? So
that's what I was just going to go. We have to go into that.
I'm sure everybody's seen this stuff before, right?
Some of them.
But when you have a look at the conversations that we've been having around resets, now, here's another thing.
Cyclical resets.
Cyclical resets. And also I've been looking more into this idea that, you know how I've got this 100-year thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've also got
the
1,000-year thing where they've inserted 1,000 years into our recent history.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that Greenland document, that Greenland website that I shared, also says that, I think it was around 750, they inserted 1,300 years or something.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few
we should throw that link out there too, because that's gone through the Unfuckers room, and I actually put it out, I think, on my own Facebook page, but I don't think it's actually been circulated like through Skype or any of the other chat rooms. So what's it called? It's called Greenland.
I'll find it.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've been talking about this whole idea, the fact of, and we talked about it quite a bit actually last week's show, the concept of perhaps timelines is not a good analogy to use, because timelines gives you an idea of separate lines that are, well, basically linear, right? And we talked about the concept of the cycles and how we are going through actually cycles. And Lisa and I were talking kind of a little bit about the whole fact of like, how is that what deja vu is living through various cycles and you remembering little flashes of previous cycles you've already been through. And then someone sent me this link. So I'm going to pull up the screen share. And you'll all giggle when you see it. Hold on, I got to make sure I've got this loaded up. Bear with me a second. But some of these are truly, like you sit there, some of them not so good. Some of them are, you sit there and go, are you kidding? So it's basically a list of celebrities and their pictures from way back in the olden days and in the past that, you know, could be maybe, hold on, there we are, got that sorted.
Someone's just, and I've got a question here for Biggie. Someone's just asked how many people can be in the room, because they're wondering whether they can call in and listen that way, because it's unlimited. Okay. So if you want to join the room to get an uninterrupted view, you can do that. Biggie, maybe you can put the, no, can't be done. What?
No, can't be done.
No, sorry, you spoke too soon. But can they just call in on their phones and listen?
No, because this is when we needed the waiting room. Biggie and I were talking about this last month, that there is a way to create a waiting room where people would be able to hear everything going on, but they would not be in our call. So that, for example, if we wanted to take callers, we could pull them in one at a time from the waiting room, but it's not set up yet.
Okay. So you can call in. There are some people who are stubbornly staying with us, so thank you. And others who have given up and they're going to catch the archive. I just put the link in, and I'll send it to you on Skype. You can grab it later for this green list.
Okay. Yep, I've got it somewhere. I just don't know where. So here we go, guys. Some of the doppelgangers, and like the very first one up, Peter Dinklage from the oh God, what's the show?
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. And this is, you know, like an 18th century painting. And I'm like, I'm sorry. You tell me that's not him? Like, seriously? And we're going to go through this. Jennifer Lawrence and her Egyptian twin, Orlando Bloom. Oh, this is one I've actually seen before. This one, Conan O'Brien, and whoever Marshall Henry Twitchell is. I mean, it's even the mannerisms are the same. Jimmy Fallon and Maher Khan. There's some of these that weren't as good. Like, I didn't really find the Justin Timberlake one quite so convincing. Bruce Willis and General Douglas MacArthur.
That one's extraordinary.
Because even MacArthur's mouth, like the way he's holding, it's extraordinary. I'm sorry, Sylvester Stallone and Pope Gregory IX. Okay, that's kind of freaky. And of course, their favorite one, Keanu Reeves, who never seems to age. And there's actually another painting as well from the 1600s that is another one they've pulled up and said, it does. It looks exactly like Keanu Reeves. Rupert Grint and David Wilkie. Not the Macaulay Culkin, I'm sorry, that one I'm not sold on. But Jack Black and Paul Revere? Seriously? This one here, John Travolta. Nicolas Cage. And again, you look at it and you go, it's the same guy. I mean, granted, really bad hairdo, but you know, Mark Zuckerberg.
Look at the eyes on Nick.
I know.
Eyes.
exactly the same, even to, like you say, the slope of the actual eyelids. Mark Zuckerberg and Philip the Fourth. I'm sorry, I thought that was King of Spain. I thought that was kind of funny too. Eddie Murphy and this dapper gentleman. Alec Baldwin, yeah, this one not so much. Jay-Z, yeah, not so much. What's just the other one? Tommy Lee Jones and Andrew Johnson, not so much. But a couple of these were just amazing. And this one, I'm sorry, Leonardo DiCaprio and Judy Zipper. Really? It looks just like a female Leonardo DiCaprio. And Michael Jackson and this painting, same thing. You go, holy shit. Even the nose, I'm sorry, look at the shape of the nose in the painting.
But that's not Michael's original nose.
I know. Well, maybe he got plastic surgery to make it look like it was supposed to. I don't know. Andrew Garfield. This one here of Queen Latifah. Like, wow. Not so much Charlie Sheen, sorry. Maggie, I can't even say her last name.
Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, there we go. Christian Bale. That one was kind of funny. The guy on the other photograph needs a better hairdresser. That's all I can say. So yeah, so we were looking through these this morning and having a little giggle and going, okay, wait a second. Is this one of those cases of if we're looking at cycles, if just looking at the theory of cycles, are we going through the cycles as we are? And that's why you see these repeats of old pictures showing up. I'm sorry, that one, the very first one, the guy from Game of Thrones. I mean, you just sit there and go, okay, not only does the guy look exactly like him, he's even got dwarfism.
Victoria's just asked where are we going with this, and it's the idea that it's a loop, and we just
it's just a loop.
As is, like, this is our template, and this is what we look like in every incarnation.
Well, the whole thing of, like what you say, the big sleep, right? The big sleep. You go to sleep, and all of a sudden, everything gets reset, and you start the next cycle. And
but every time, okay, so going back to the idea of when they introduced the printing press, seems to be around the same time that a reset in consciousness could have been done, because all you have to do then is, as you're printing the literature and reproducing the old literature, you add, you change that little one, or the I, sorry, into a one. You add 1,000 years. There's not that many people who are actually literate. You're changing the calendar at the same time. There's just confusion all around. You retell the same stories, slightly changing the names of the characters, which is why we have so many recurring kind of stories. This person did that over there, but this person by this name did the same kind of thing over here, and it's actually just the one story.
Yep. It just keeps getting retold. But in 100 years later, instead of being a captain named this, it's actually a ship with that name. And instead of going to Africa, they go to, Albania. It's these things just keep cycling around. And it's just more and more this whole concept of things just keep cycling through, and it's just like a reset. And I keep coming back to that whole thing of, like, they tried to do a reset and it didn't work, and now they're trying to fix it and it's not working. And I just keep coming back to that in my head. It's like, whatever that reset was that they were supposed to do, that was supposed to have been done whenever it was supposed to have been done, even if you want to say December 12th, 21st, 2012, whenever was their idea, what the reset time, I don't think it worked. And I think that the frustration that a lot of us are feeling right now Lisa, you and I had the conversation earlier last week. Oh, that just, I'm so fucking done. This just needs to be over now. Just this whole fucking bullshit. Just, it's done. Done.
I just got handed something and I need to find out what it is before I share it. Hang on.
Okay.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves. So, yeah. And you got the CERN staff. Are they trying to cover something up? Kind of like what Lisa was saying. You've got the bits and pieces. Like now we've got all this stuff coming out of the mainstream media talking about Project Bluebeam and the second sun. And yeah, well, it always gets thrown into this, oh, well, you know, conspiracy theorists say they're still talking about it openly for the first time ever, the mainstream media. And like Lisa said, they're not giving any alternative suggestions that actually make sense, that can make someone go, oh, okay, obviously that's ridiculous because, you know, the weatherman says it's, you know, swamp gas reflecting off of the light of Venus or something. So, yeah, you got to sit there and go, wait a second. When all this shit is coming up right now, I can't call it a coincidence. It's just the last 2 months has just been ridiculous with the number of these articles coming up in the mainstream. All the stuff from NASA, which I've been taking the shit out of for the last few months on Conspicuous News. Oh, we just lost Lisa entirely. Help me, I'm all by myself. I can't be trusted. Okay, so, and I can't even pull up the chat room to see what everyone's saying in the chat room, if there's anyone who can actually hear us anyway. Yeah, so it just makes it really, really interesting. Little pieces just keep coming out and you just keep looking at them in different lights, going, well, wait a second, haven't we been here before? Haven't we done this before? One of the things when Lisa was talking about the invention of the printing press, because she talks about literacy, we had, and I'm sorry, you guys are getting the very cut down version of a very long conversation Lisa and I had this morning. Even when the printing presses were first, they're chatting about it didn't work, the reset. Now what happens? I think they're trying to cover up whatever it is that they were trying to cover up, i.e. all sorts of different things happening. And it kind of comes into that whole thing of, like we said, are there these floating cities that we're seeing in Nigeria, in China, England? Apparently there was one over California. I don't know if that was ever confirmed, sightings. If those are the breaking down of the matrix, let's say, whether it was parallel dimension, looking through a tearing in the matrix to yet another side, is that what they're trying to cover up? That's what I think they're doing. And I think that's one of the reasons why you're seeing all this stuff in the mainstream, is to distract people, and also perhaps to try and get people to think it's them doing it. Because it's one thing to think, if you think of the mass of humanity, if the mass of humanity thinks that something is going on that's man-made, i.e. there's some bad guy, be a banker or a world leader or whatever, and they're a terrible person and they're causing all this problem, yes, it's devastating. Yes, you're upset, you're angry, you're all the rest of it, but it's man-made. There's a certain amount of a different way of looking at things. Whereas if all this stuff is happening and it's not man-made, and there's no rational explanation that, you know, they would ever want to share with you, be it new dimensions, time zones, timelines, etc., etc. If they can't control it, and it kind of comes into the whole thing of like Armageddon. Remember the movie in Armageddon when Bruce Willis asked the guy, the lead guy at NASA, says, well, have you told, like, are you telling everyone? And he was like, no, I can't tell anyone. There'd be mass hysteria on the streets, the breakdown of society instantaneously. So is that what they're doing? Is that part of the spin right now of trying to make it look like it's something man-made, i.e. to try and keep the people focused on that aspect of it, i.e. that it is therefore being controlled by someone, i.e. not something that's just randomly fucking happening that no one has any control over? I don't know. But yeah, some of it's pretty interesting. And one of the things, going back to the whole thing about illiteracy, right? More than half the population of the planet, even now, is illiterate. And back when the first printing presses came out, like 95% of the planet was illiterate. So we know, Nick actually found an article talking, there is a document that talks about the fact that basically when there was a switchover between the Julian calendar into the Gregorian calendar, they lost 5 days. And that's basically kind of like a known fact. It was like they started off, or was it 10 days, I think. It was like October 5th, and all of a sudden they started the next one at what would be the equivalent of October 15th. And I've read other really interesting articles over the years that have talked about the fact of when you start changing around calendars, you start tampering, you can create anything, right? As in a whole background history, you can cross things over into a completely another level of deception just by changing the calendar. Is that what we're witnessing? I don't know. So again, we'll keep going back into this, you know, missing time and time cycles, et cetera, et cetera. All I know is it's real fucking weird. I don't know. We lost Lisa. I don't know what's going on here. Hold on, Biggie. I saw your message earlier. Yeah. If Mel's kicking around and wants to come chat with me, that would be lovely. Because right now I'm sitting here talking to myself. Good. I don't even think the chat room can hear me. Tee-hee-hee. Yeah, some interesting shit. If we want to go into some more interesting shit, we're going to go into the totally mundane right now. Totally mundane. Oh, wait. There's Elisa. Oh, it's a Darius, actually, but it's Elisa. Hi, darling. You decided to join us?
I did.
Oh, thank you. Because I've just been rambling on and on and on, and you know. I'm just going to say on the totally mundane historical of like what's going on in the now, Afghanistan has now just officially asked for Russian help with airstrikes against ISIS.
Well, Russia's even helping Indonesia handle their fires.
Uh-huh.
Russia's like everyone's go-to guy right now.
The go-to guy? I made up a little map. I made up a cute little map showing that basically the U.S. is kind of fucked. All the ISIS mercenaries are basically the only corridor open for them to escape now is, through Turkey. So, which is why Turkey and the U.S. have created a buffer zone. Yeah, I know. But now Afghanistan, which really screws them out, I'm just like, that's just too funny. I don't know how many thousand U.S. troops are over in Afghanistan now, you know, guarding the poppy fields. So.
I wonder, I mean, if it's true, this little rumor that Putin had a meeting with Anastasia, if that's true, because of things that she said about Russia's role, he wanted to find out what she knew about what Russia's role was supposed to be in the future.
Well, Edward, Case, what's his name? Case, the prophet guy.
Edgar Casey.
Edgar Casey. apparently that came through again today, and apparently he named that it was going to be someone who was going to rise up out of Russia who would stop World War III and stop the fiasco from happening. So, hey, who knows? Sorry, I'm still in the mind that it's just Putin's just, you know, wearing a different party dress.
And he may well be, but in the meantime, he's cleaning some shit up.
And that's my whole point, is he's cleaning shit up. And right now in the Middle East, the shit that's going on right now is like, oh, can we say, let's just turn everything upside down? Now Jordan's working with Russia. And that is a major, major, major one. Which I said, that's what I'm saying. Iraq, Jordan, Syria, basically they've completely cut off all these ISIS terrorists. They've got nowhere to go except to flee through, literally, Turkey. That's it.
There is also the idea that Russia was never in on the inner circle of the cabal. They were always the outsiders. I don't know. Right now, Russia and Putin are cleaning up a lot of mess, kicking some ass,
and making things very visible, aren't they?
Making things very visible. I like what the guy's doing right now. If that means that he's leading us down a track eventually, so that, you know, whatever. But right here, right now, go guy.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with what he's doing in Russia. Sorry, in Syria, the Middle East. On you go. Have a good day. Oh, that's the new rumor though right now, is apparently the New York Times ran with the story about one of the U.S. weakest links is all these underwater communication cables, and they think that Russia's going to blow them up. And that America's weakest link is all their underwater communication cables, and that Russia could blow those up, thereby isolating the United States from communications from the rest of the world. Which is, of course, I'm sitting there, and it's funny because Jim Stone has written an article just recently, I think about it, I haven't had a chance to go look, basically going, I mean, can you talk about the perfect patsy? Basically, the U.S. could take down all communications with the outside world and then blame Russia and keep Americans completely fucking isolated from all communications of the outside world. So basically, the American government could tell them whatever the hell they wanted. Yeah, kind of interesting. So, yeah, that was another little piece that just got tossed out there this week.
Yeah. For those who are, oh, I've got to find this too. For those who are interested, because this has come up quite a bit, Germany and World War II. So that's apparently a German network some time ago actually broadcast the truth about World War II, even with the risk of anti-Semitic. What's that word? Anti-Semitic.
Anti-Semitic. And being a Holocaust. No, I can't talk.
The Holocaust denier. So there's that. There's also, and which I'll look for and find and share in a second, a lecture by a guy from 1961, I think, or 67, who was in fact Jewish. And he was giving an incredible history, which does correlate a great deal with the Greatest Story Never Told documentary. And he was referring to their oaths as well. Once a year, there's a Jewish holiday once a year. I can't remember the name of it. And they say a prayer. And apparently the prayer basically boils down to any oath that I take throughout the year is null and void. It's their out. It's their way of giving themselves permission to lie. Because you can lie to a Christian, you can lie, you can tell them whatever you want, because your oath to whatever this is
supersedes it.
And it's not even just supersedes it. It makes anything else any other oath or promise you make irrelevant. And he's, as a Jewish man, standing up and saying, you can't trust him. Like, it was interesting.
Did you hear what Netanyahu came out and said this week?
That it was the Germans who...
No. Hitler didn't want to kill all the Jews. It was the Palestinians who told him to.
Oh, that's what the Palestinians.
Which was really funny because there was a guy from one of the major news agencies in Israel said, oh, wait, doesn't Netanyahu's claim basically make him a Holocaust denier? And I'm like, yeah. Is that someone trying to rewrite history a little bit?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of that going on. Sorry, guys, I don't mean to keep yawning, but, you know, the hour, it's actually like 20 after 1 in the morning for me by the old time, even if the clock says 20 after 12.
So the guy's name is Benjamin Friedman, I think. If you want to have a look at that, if you're interested in that area, highly recommend it.
Well, the greatest story never told is supposedly brilliant. I just don't have 6 hours. I don't have 6 hours to watch it.
No, not so much. No, Victoria, it's not so much that nothing happened. No one's saying nothing happened. It's who did it and the reasons why. Where there are questions and how many.
Oh, well, the how many has already been, I mean, that's already a known fact. I mean, the whole 6 million number for Jews that died during the Holocaust has already been, the Red Cross announced that, I don't know, it was like 20 or 30 years ago. They put out a document saying it was like 216,000 who died, not 6 million. And that was like one of the official agencies, I'm pretty sure it was the Red Cross who put out that information.
Yeah, it was.
And, and then you have other points of it, and the fact of, and this was another document that actually just came out just recently too, was talking about the fact that, yeah, basically the vast majority of the Jews in concentration camps died of starvation and typhoid from lice. In fact, was it typhoid? From lice infestations. They had lice so bad. I think it was typhoid that's carried by lice. And starvation, because the British basically bombed all the food supply lines going into all the prison camps.
So Jeff's just said there's a newly released TV show called The Man in the High Tower.
Right, Jeff. The Man in the High Tower. I've heard about it, but I don't know much information on it.
Never heard of it.
Castle. Man in the High Castle.
There was a woman jailed in Germany about a month ago for denial. Oh, well, that's probably her. The woman jailed in Germany for denial was probably the woman who worked for the network that broadcasted it. She was the one. There was a woman who made the call to do it. So that's probably her.
Well, there was another interesting one about Austria. This came by my news feed this week too, and it's a woman who was like 11 years old. Well, I think her story starts in 1937 or 1938, and she's like 12 years old. And she talks about, everyone thinks, of course, you know, Sound of Music, that like the Nazis came in and took over Austria by force. And she was like, no, that's not what happened. Austria fucking voted the Nazis in. basically said, please come on right in, come look after us. We're more than happy to. And some of the interesting things that she talked about were, again, you talk about the huge changing of history, right? When you start having people coming forward with their pieces, then again, you keep going back to the whole thing of like, oh, but is that another timeline piece? You know, one person remembers it one way, another person remembers it another way.
Well, speaking of which, has this the timeline glitches, has it still been such an issue? I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, what was the new one that just came up? Silence of the Lambs. What's the most famous line in Silence of the Lambs? It's been fucking used in I don't know how many spoofs, how many cartoons and movies.
The one where he says Clarice?
Yeah, hello, Clarice. Yeah, Silence of the Lambs now doesn't have that line in the movie.
Well, at all?
At all. It's been wiped out of the movie. And I just thought that was like...
What about the fava beans?
But I mean, how can you take out the most famous line of the movie, right? Like, even South Park and The Simpsons have used, you know, hello, Clarice. Yeah, it's not in the movie. And there was another one too that just came up as well that we were like, oh, it was one that came up in the Unfuckers room. Oh shit! And it was the same thing. We were having a conversation with something else, and a couple of us went, whoa, wait a second. I don't remember what it was. That was like, a whole 3-4 days ago. You can't expect me to remember this stuff. Oh, but it was another one, same thing, where it was from a movie. Oh, there you go. In the first Lord of the Rings movie, when they're going through the mountain and Gandalf falls into the chasm with the Balrog, and he's hanging onto the edge, and he turns to Frodo and he says, does he say, run, you fools, or fly, you fools?
Run.
Exactly. Nick says fly. Nick is adamant he says fly. I said, no, I absolutely know for a fact it's run. Run. Quinlan swears it says run, you fools, and she's seen the movie I don't know how many frickin' times. And then someone came up and said, okay, well, the difference is the movie he says run, and in the DVD he says fly. And I'm like, I've never seen the movie in the theater. I've only ever seen the DVD of it.
Yeah, I didn't see any of the movies.
I pulled up we pulled up the clip and listened to it, and it says "Fly, you fool," and I'm like, that's not what he says. That's not what he says.
Why would he be telling you to fly?
Apparently, in the book, in that scene, in the original book, he says, "Fly, you fools," but they're supposed to take the giant eagles and fly out.
Oh. Which
is never in the movie, and I don't give a shit. I'm sorry, because I remember very clearly. He says, run, you fools. So there's another one. And they just keep popping up. Like someone's actually put together like a little meme where it's all on one page type thing. So it's in the Unfuckers room. It's on my wall on Facebook probably last week sometime. And there's a few new ones in there. There's a few new ones in there.
So is anybody, I'm just going to ask those in the chat room who can respond.
Who can hear us.
Who can hear us. In your personal life, personal stuff, are you seeing glitches? Because it's one thing for us to see these kinds of things on a collective level with our collective memory and collective history, but it's another thing when they start popping up in your personal life. So I just wanted to ask if that's still happening for anybody.
Does that include losing shit?
Yeah.
Because this week I have lost shit continuously. Now, I am one of those people who, if someone says to me, like if Nick says to me, hey, where is where's the bag of salt? I can say, okay, it's in the upstairs kitchen. It's on the orange shelf on the second shelf down on the right-hand side. because I've got that kind of memory. I can see things. I just memorize the way where I've seen things. I can look back and see where they are. I have had multiple times this week where I've had something like this later, and I've walked into a room and put it down and turned back a minute later, and it's fucking gone. And yes, I have kids. I do get that, but it has been continuously for the last 4 days. I had a pencil. I have one pencil that I keep in my notebook when I'm writing out recipes for the stuff in the work that I'm doing for Our Guy's Garden. I have, it's my pencil. All the kids know it's mommy's pencil. You don't touch this pencil. It's the only pencil I have. I put it down in the kitchen. I know exactly where I put it in the kitchen this morning. It's gone. And I mean, I've searched everywhere. It's vanished.
Candy can top your pencil because apparently she's had 2 people disappear off the face of the earth.
Okay.
You need to elaborate on that, darling.
Well, speaking of people disappearing, Bradley Love's blog is closed down. And I sent him a message and I have had no response back. So I don't know, is he count as someone disappearing? I'm dead serious. I got a message from a friend of mine saying, hey, I just went to go to Bradley's blog and it says this blog has been closed by the author. And I think Lisa's probably frozen. Oh no, she's not. She's just being very still.
I'm sorry.
And yeah, I was like, no, that can't be right. So I went and I looked and I was like, his blog is gone. And I sent him a message a few days ago and I haven't had a response. So I don't know. Brad, if you're out there, I'm really kind of concerned. I'd like to know what the fuck is going on and where are you?
Chris says, walked into the same person walking his dog twice, coming from opposite directions. People have had the whole, things have disappeared and then reappeared later thing happening.
Oh, well, I'd like my pencil to reappear because it's my favorite pencil. Well, it's my only pencil.
Time skips.
Say that again.
Okay, so Candy was saying that she had a birthday recently and 2 of her best friends she didn't hear from, which is incredibly unusual. Like, they're just nothing, not a word. Jim says time's all over the place. McNeil is losing shit. Things are just disappearing.
Yep.
For years. Okay, so Bradley Love, some other people have been trying to get to him as well. Nothing. Jewelry, crystals, pendants disappearing.
Huh. I actually just found some. I found my wedding band, my engagement ring, and my favorite necklace in a purse. And I was like, how the fuck did they get there? Because I haven't been able to wear my wedding band or my engagement ring for a long time because they're too big on me now and they fall off. And it was just like, oh, look, I found my rings. But what are they doing in this purse?
You get this one. I woke up before my alarm went off and I checked it and it had 2 minutes to go. So I decided to relax and wait. The wife got up and went to the loo, etc. Came back and said, when is the alarm going to go off? I checked and it still said 2 minutes to go.
That someone else had, who was it? About 2 weeks ago, I got that from someone who was like, we talked about in the Unfuckers room last week about losing time. I've had several days this week where I have lost time. I can't account for entire hours of time. And granted, I have been ridiculously fucking busy this week, but I have 4 kids who remind me they need to be fed at least every half hour. So it's very rare that I can be really busy and lose track of time, but I mean, I've actually lost time. And one of the guys in the room, can't remember who it was, Chris Bearspeak, says he couldn't sleep one night. So he goes to CCN. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, his time. And Randy Moggins is on. It's a 2-hour show. The show ends. He shuts his computer and looks at the clock, and it's 5 o'clock in the morning. He's like, wait, it's a 2-hour show.
Time shift or anything like that?
Nope. There was no daylight. That was 2 weeks ago. So there was no daylight savings time shifts 2 weeks ago that they told us. Yeah, but I've had multiple people. We've talked about this a couple of times in the Unfucked Room, with people saying I've had entire hours disappear. And I had it last week. There was one day last week when I turned to Nick and said, it's 11 o'clock at night. There's no fucking possible way it can be 11 o'clock at night. There's no way. It's not like, you're watching a TV show and you get, or a movie and you get caught up. No, it was like, there's no way it's that time.
Going back to like what we were talking about earlier with just how everyone's feeling, sleep patterns. Now, I went through months and months. I talked about it on the show where I couldn't stay up. I was in bed asleep at 9 o'clock at night, sometimes earlier. And I was like that for months. Now I can't sleep. It's not uncommon for me to still be awake at 4 a.m., which is not good when I've got a show at 8, which happened last week or the week before. I'm waking up. We talked about this last night, my time. The last few nights have had the heat thing again. And it's like you're too cold without anything over you. You're too hot with something over you, and you're just sort of doing this all night.
That was me last night. I had a horrific sleep last night.
It's been me the last few nights as well. So I know that heat thing is like really widespread.
Mm-hmm.
And it does seem to be happening in cycles, but I don't know whether those, or if anything, those cycles are correlating to. Is it sun activity? Is it something else? Is it the weather? I mean, who knows? But we seem to be doing this in cycles. It calms down, and then I'll go for 3 or 4 days or a week or 2 weeks where it's just constant, and it calms down again.
Yep. Well, it's funny because of the whole sleep thing. Nick didn't sleep all summer. Nick had insomnia so bad for, I think it was July and August especially. He would have literally nights where he couldn't fall asleep until it would be light outside, and he would finally fall asleep. To all of a sudden in the last month and a half, I've gone from where I usually sleep 6 hours a night, usually on average, where I'm going to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning and sleeping till 10 o'clock in the morning, which I never, ever fucking do. Like, until this last month, I can count on 2 hands the amount of times that I've slept until 10 o'clock in the morning in my entire life. I'm not a sleep-in person. Every day I've been sleeping until 10 o'clock in the morning. And when I get up at 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm doing that, oh God, my God, I have to get up. I have to get up. Last night, go to bed, couldn't fall asleep right away, which is unusual for me. Usually I fall asleep pretty easily. And I had the whole night. I had, what the hell is that?
It's a bird.
Okay, that's a funny bird. I woke up early in the morning, so like 5 o'clock in the morning, with, I was telling you this morning, this intense pain in my stomach. It literally woke me out of a dead sleep. I was like, oh my God, it felt like I had an ulcer burning through my chest or my stomach. And I did, when you're trying to find a comfortable position to lay down, and I was doing the hots, and I was actually shaking. It was like I was hot, sweating, but shaking, shivering at the exact same time. Yeah. To the point where you start going, am I delirious? Do I have a fever? And I got up when it was 7 o'clock in the morning. I got up and went to go to the bathroom. Quinlan's sitting out here. And I said to her, what time is it, baby? And she goes, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what are you doing up? She was like, I've been up since 5. I can't sleep. She says, I went up to the roof. I watched the sunrise. I read a book. I've watched a movie already. I mean, it's like, she's just like, I'm wide awake. We had a thunderstorm appear out of nowhere, huge, booming. And I mean, the kind of thunder that rattles your windows. And I got back into bed. I was like, now I'm cold. Get back into bed. And I did the same thing where I was hot, cold, shaking. Talked to you for like 3 hours this morning. And I had said to you at the end of the call, oh man, I got starting to feel a little bit woozy. I go in, get kids fed, go to start making, I've got an order I need to fill. So I'm making some of the serum, getting everything put together to make the base serum. And I get halfway through making it. And all of a sudden I started to shake. And my body, my hands were like this. And you're trying to measure in like 0.5 of a millimeter. And your hands are shaking like this. I ended up, I spilled stuff. I almost knocked over a blender at one point. I was like, oh my God, what the fuck? And then an hour later, I was completely fine again. But same thing, during that time, hot and cold at the same time.
According to the chat room, there has been so many different incidences of time jumps. Including going from 2 to 3 before his eyes on a digital clock, and then went and checked the other clocks, and they all said 3 as well. And he was in the afternoon, not 3 o'clock in the morning, where you might be dreaming or imagining it.
Hey Jeff, how's your clock doing? Is your clock doing any more magical stuff? I'm beginning to think that clock of Jeff's kind of was showing us it's packed in a box. Well, damn it, you need to have that out. We need to know what's going on with the time.
Barbara's in the room, and
what?
Where'd he go? Oh no.
Was it a comment by Barbara? Could Jeff capture it?
Damn it.
Everyone in the chat room, stop talking for a second.
Where'd it go? So Barbara's got no other browsers open. She's only got the show on. And she says, no other browser window open, but I can hear another radio show in the background. That famous conspiracy theorist who has his own show. I'm thinking Alex. And they're talking about Hitler. Just as we were doing that, right? And then she refreshed, and she doesn't know where it's coming from. It's because there's nothing else open. And the other, as soon as she refreshed, it's back.
Okay, that's freaky.
She's in there going, what the fuck is going on?
I don't know, maybe it's like Hitler Day. Everyone's supposed to be talking about Hitler today. Is that what it is? No,
I tell you what, Barbara's computer does the strangest things, like in really cool sync ways. And this is one of them. Oh, and now that's all she can hear. She can't hear us anymore.
Maybe tell her to close the window entirely and reload. Barbara, I don't know. Might be worth
they're actually talking about The Greatest Story Never Told, the documentary that we mentioned.
Get out of here.
That's what they're talking about on the Alex Jones show that is coming through her computer, and she only has this show on. So, Barbara, can you see us, but you can't hear us? Is that what's happening?
You may want to type that in if she can't hear us.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Biggi just said, I give up on going to bed. Biggie's like, I don't want Alex Jones on my station. No.
Oh, and other people, Tracy with the shaking. People have, Verna saying she thought her blood sugar was low, but she's not diabetic or anything.
Hey, okay. Well, this is the thing. And now, because I am a logical person, and when anytime things come up in certain areas, I always look for the logical first. I am hypoglycemic, I control my blood sugar very easily through diet. I very, very rarely have problems in the last 10 years with my blood sugar levels. But I've had a lot of incidences in the last couple of months that feel like blood sugar. It comes on the same way. It feels like I'm having a blood sugar crash, and I will go and I will eat something immediately. And my go-to is peanut butter with honey, because you get the instant protein, carbs from the bread, and the honey for the sugar. 99% of the time, if I have a piece of bread with peanut butter and honey on it, my blood sugar, and within 5 minutes, I'm completely fine and stable again. Doesn't work. John Clark is a good friend of ours. John's diabetic. His blood sugars have been all over the place for the last 2 months. All over the place. And I mean, granted, John has a terrible diet, and if you're listening, John, but it's ridiculous. Like he said, he has to check now continuously because his blood sugar is like all over the place. So,
okay, there's something ticking away in the back of my brain. Whoa.
Well, is it
years ago that I came across this information, but it had to do with sugars and the role of sugar in our DNA. Oh, I'm going to have to try and track that down. Because there's a lot of people in here saying the same thing, that it feels like blood sugar problems, but they don't have blood sugar problems, or they used to a long time ago and they haven't had it for years.
Okay, that's interesting, because that's a topic I've been meaning to bring up into the Unfuckers room, to ask people, specifically people who know they're hypoglycemic or hypoglycemic. Yeah, I don't know. This is a conversation that should be had, because, okay, if you look at blood sugar, okay, blood sugar, you're dealing with hormones, you're dealing with the endocrine system as well. And I keep talking about the whole endocrine system is a weird, weird ass fucking thing.
Okay, sorry, I'm having 3 conversations right now.
Okay.
Verna said, speaking of time jumps, are you saying you actually saw this? 2 women and 1 man dressed in black clothes like they were from the 1600s or so, walking across a field, talking to each other like they were out for a normal stroll. And Barbara's still freaking out.
Barbara's still freaking out. I have to listen to Alex Jones.
She has not been able to hear us, and she didn't even know that we touched on that subject or mentioned that documentary. Right?
Okay, that's just...
She can see us, I think, but she can't hear us.
Tell her to try going to, like, my Facebook room. The Removing the Shackles Facebook room, and see if she opens it up through Facebook. That might be a different...
She can hear us now, no Alex, after her 3rd refresh.
Wow.
Okay, I'm trying to see if Verna's responded. So, Verna, you're saying, yeah, I want to know if you actually saw that. Okay. Yeah, blood sugar issues.
Interesting.
Or not. They're not actually blood sugar issues, but the shaking.
I don't, but the shaking, I mean, that was my thing today. I was like, oh my God, I got to eat something. Nick came home and he had some cooked chickens from the market. They do them in the nice cumin, and rubbed down with cumin and turmeric, and they're so good. And I literally, it was like ravenous, just grabbed a piece and ate it as fast as I could to try, and it didn't do anything. What are you laughing at?
Barbara again. She's going, shit. You're all talking about time travel. I was just watching a video about people appearing in pictures of the past who seem to be from the future, and now you're talking about that too.
There you go. Barbara, are you perhaps like channeling something going on there? Keeping us on track.
And, okay, a couple of things, because we are getting, time is
Yep, we have 10 minutes.
We have a flash mob planned. I'm hoping to pull it off next week, which would be interesting. And it's all based around money and a little game we can play. So that'll be fun. People have asked about permaculture, and I'm surrounded by permaculture experts right now. I'm actually staying in a community that was based on the formed originally on the whole concept of permaculture. So I want to get a couple of people in to actually talk about the bigger concept of permaculture, because like most of us, I think a lot of like me, I think most of us think that permaculture has just to do with
Gardening.
And gardening, and it's not. It's a much bigger picture than that. And so there's those two things. What else? That's it for the moment. I can think of.
Tee-hee-hee.
So yeah, we will be doing, because we want to do, there are solutions and we can start implementing them. There's nothing really stopping us. So let's start talking about them.
Well, one of the things, going right back to the very, 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 very beginning of the show, I know it seems like so long ago, talking about currency and currency revaluations, et cetera, et cetera. Be smart, people. You want to keep that currency that out of the system. And, like there's ways of going around it. At least, and I've been joking in the last week that you should really get everyone together and just buy an island somewhere and then just claim it as like basically a sovereign thing and be, right, that's it. We got our own island. No touchy? Yeah, no touchy. I don't consent. No fucking driver's license necessary, and you don't even need a passport to come visit. There you go. So, yeah. Something like that. It's time for smart thinking. Like you don't want to feed the system. So what can you do to look after yourself and your family and not feed into the system? And there's ways.
Yeah, there is ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, going back to that original, I just, I know that there are a lot of people out there who say that they are investing because they want to do all this great humanitarian work.
Yeah.
And some of them I even believe.
Yep.
But knowing the whole purpose of it, and I think, that's what I think right now is the purpose of it.
Yep, absolutely.
They can harvest it all back.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of it anyway, at least in 12 months.
Well, it comes into that whole thing of what you said about debt forgiveness. Debt forgiveness is been a theory that has been pushed, and they've really pushed it hard into the New Age communities, the channeled messages, the Nasara groups, etc. They push that debt forgiveness, but it's not debt forgiveness. And on a country level, because that's one of the things that we were told, all the country's debts will be forgiven. They'll just wipe it clean and reset it. No, that's not what's happening. Now, this I know from absolutely personal, and a conversation that happened between someone I know and the prime minister of a Caribbean nation who he's really, really good friends with and used to play golf with. And he asked them about the Iraqi dinar, and they were like, oh yeah, we're invested. We were told to. Not as individuals. The country was told by the IMF and the World Bank they must put every bit of money they had out of their budget invested into Iraqi dinar. And when this person came home from that island and told me about the conversation, I went, oh, so much for debt forgiveness. It's not debt forgiveness at all. All it is basically they invest this money. they revalue the money, then they use that money to pay off their debts, which is why they were told to invest. You need to invest in this because that's how you're paying off your country's debt. So there is no debt forgiveness. And you have to think, if there's a debt, who owns the debt? I.e., who is that debt being paid off to, and who controls that entity?
And that's what everyone will do.
Exactly. They'll pay off their mortgages, they'll pay off their student loans, they'll pay off their car loans. And guess what? All that money just goes.
It's easier than taking them on.
I'm sorry, but if you've got $1 million, pack up, get the fuck out, and disappear. Let them track you down in Borneo. Really? It's that easy. Done it. Sorry. Walking, talking proof. I disappeared from the Canadian government for 8 years. They couldn't find me. So.
Oh. Yes. Throw some CCN's way.
Yes, throw some funds CCN's way, because seriously, CCN needs their own server, please. Really needs their own server.
No, I'll leave that for tomorrow's show. Sorry. See you then.
It's a cliffhanger. Damn. Well, we got 3 minutes left. 2 minutes. Sorry, 2 minutes. Apparently, my clock is a minute slow.
Well, I just want to thank everybody who's hung around and stuck with this and refused to leave and continue to refresh and go to different sites to it. Thank you. You guys are amazing for hanging in there the way you do. They're you're not going to get pushed around. Love it.
That's right.
So yes, it's a totally rigged game. Absolutely. And yeah, if this ends up funding a whole bunch of communities,
great,
then awesome, because that's what I see happening.
Yep, and that's the way to get it and use the money to a way that is going to actually create, not just get sucked up by the system.
There are people who are asking, like, what can they do to get in on this? Not much right now.
I don't know if you can buy Vietnamese dong. You can buy from any currency seller. It's one of those currencies. It's an open and available currency. If it's being sold at the moment, I don't know. I haven't had an update in the last 5 days. Iraqi dinar, you have to go to one of the dinar dealers or buy off of eBay.
And
Zimbabwe, the Iranian rial is another one of the currencies that's slated to make a massive jump. So, and the Indonesian rupiah, the Indian rupee. I mean, there's just a few. There's a lot of currencies that are supposed to jump, but the two big ones that have always been talked about for the last 5 years is the Vietnamese dong and the Iraqi dinar. And it's 1 minute, dudes.
Biggi's to do his best to get an archive up for you guys at ASAP. I don't know how long that's going to take. It might get jumped to the head of the queue. I don't know. But it's been another one of those disjointed, absolutely crazy conversations. We've gone everywhere.
We specialize in those.
Yeah, we do. Thank you for all of your input. We may have a guest and some fun and games next week. So
we'll see.
Fingers crossed. Talk to you all tomorrow. Thank you, Biggie. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Dee. Thank you, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.
The pursuit of a free, fair, just, sustainable world should be the focus of every person on our planet. The reason it is not is because people are kept distracted by the illusions and deceit propagated by the corporately controlled mainstream media. In recent years, the rise in truly informed, savvy researchers and journalists who have all taken to the air in various capacities has given rise to a new genre of media. We have seen the explosion of truly free and independent media, and thus the need to create an ethical live broadcast network that facilitated these brave and tireless souls became apparent. With a great amount of research and meticulous planning, Conscious Consumer Network was created. CCN is the first of its kind broadcast network that is specifically dedicated to free and independent media with absolutely no government control, corporate sponsorship, or advertising. The live broadcast network runs full-time with an average of 25 shows and live broadcasts a week. The high-definition live stream is free to view and is accessible from any computer terminal with online access, including laptops, tablets, smartphones, and smart TVs. All shows are archived onto YouTube and are freely available to view in order to educate and inform as many as we can without imposing monetary limitations. CCN was successfully launched on the 1st of January 2015 and has gone from strength to strength as we have improved and increased the capacities and functionalities of the network, as well as an ever-rotating and improving lineup of content which is broadcast daily. CCN is blessed to be the home of some of the hardest hitting, most cutting-edge, truly educational and informative materials. Catch interviews, reviews, and talk shows from the many different and beautiful perspectives from CCN's family of interviewers and broadcasters. Since the 1st of January 2015, we have produced over 800 shows. We have over 2 million YouTube minutes watched every month, and we have an average of 1 million hits a day on CCN's website. CCN is viewed in over 147 different countries and hosts broadcasters from 5 different continents. The time has now come to generate funding to keep CCN on the air for the duration of 2016. The total sum needed to continue broadcasting for 2016 is $60,000. This budget includes the replacement of computer equipment, the acquisition of secure servers, which are most needed as we keep getting hacked, plus the renewal of the broadcast license fee for 2016. This is a fraction of the annual budget used by mainstream media networks producing a similar quantity of content. This is what makes CCN so successful, unique, and accessible, is the ability to run a project of this size and reach on such minimal resources. CCN does not claim ownership over any of the material we produce and broadcast, as we firmly believe that information is the common heritage of all beings, and thus CCN belongs to you, the public, and it is up to you all to keep CCN going. CCN would like to thank those who have contributed to the network in the past with resources, content, information, time, and energy. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.